Hey, it's 7 Grains of Salt. It's a battle for your mind. Well, I started looking into the Compassion Live Roadshow 2020. Well, I got a little concerned on several levels because just like I've mentioned about all these pastors being interlinked, well, so are all the musicians, all the worship leaders. They're all interlinked. And then I noticed Service Christi did a video just the other day, and I had to pull that in here, and that's why it's taken a couple extra days. Plus, then also my little one was sick. But let's get into it.
Understand that behind every musician, behind every so-called worship artist, there is a theology, and there's usually a specific teacher. You cannot divorce the theology from the doxology, the singing. If the theology is not good, the doxology will not be good either. And a lot of people put the cart before the horse. There is a massive disparity between old hymns and the contemporary Christian music world in a general sense. But even for those things that appear to be good, perhaps a song or two here or there are theologically sound. On the whole, again, there is a specific theology being championed behind every singer, every band, every artist. Today we're focusing on the musical aspect. Find a hint of what we refer to as a worship leader today, as some sort of staffed position within a church. Anywhere. You will find singing. We've got a whole book of psalms, well, several books within a book, devoted to singing. Yes, the notion of singing is absolutely valid. Nothing wrong with that, nothing wrong with writing the songs, but what this has turned into is a cheap imitation, and as you're going to see, it's not even really an imitation of the world's music industry, it's part and parcel of it. Power of music, mind control by rhythmic sound. This could be an entire study on its own. In fact, psychologists in the hundreds at this point have studied this topic quite at length. And just to establish a baseline for the power of music, and the reason that people tend to get so offended is that unlike certain other mediums, your mind is uniquely affected by music in an emotional way. There's a unique connection to the artist because there is a very high aesthetic in pleasant sounds. Brain waves are in sync after a certain amount of time listening to the same rhythmic sound. Influence is massive in this state. Some people have questioned whether or not there's an unintentional hypnotic induction of sorts. And many have argued that that's exactly what happens. Now, specifically, this happens in a live concert setting. There are independent studies about decibel levels. The louder the music, the more influential as well. And it tends to induce a state of euphoria with loud music in particular at a certain decibel rate that mimics being drunk or buzzed on alcohol. It's a similar effect that it has on your mind. Add to that lighting levels and so forth, and there's an entire psychology of music that is intriguing to look into. But just to set the tone, we're not dealing what we are dealing with is the battle for your mind. There's a reason that the modern music industry in general has found the concert setting that we have to be advantageous. People like it. It produces feelings, triggers huge amounts of dopamine to go off in your brain. Very similar to interacting with narcotics.
To a particular point, I want you to make sure that you pay attention to this particular instrument that is about to start and what it might do to the audience. So as you can hear, that synth is very repetitive. It has a hypnotic quality to it. I don't know whether that was on purpose or whether that was just chosen. It probably isn't doing something good in the atmosphere. Have a look out into the congregation. The lights are off. It's complete darkness. The musicians and the stage are lit up and exalted. However, the congregation, if you were standing in that congregation, you wouldn't feel as if you were part of a body of Christ, as if you would feel you were unified with other brethren. You wouldn't even be able to see other people's faces on the other side of the church. It is in darkness, and they do that specifically so that you are focused on your subjective encounter, your subjective experience, or what's happening on stage, and nothing to do with God.
Our young people are not going to be reached through emergent gimmicks and techniques, through candles or labyrinths, through pizza parties, through chanting parties, through meditation techniques and yoga seminars. These young people aren't going to be reached because you are conforming the gospel to their culture, but because you are bringing the gospel to them in their culture and saying to them, the Lord is relevant for you today. For His gospel, His word of salvation, is what will bring you into that relationship with God without the use of gimmicks or occult techniques.
That was also from Shaking My Head production. So Service Christi went over all the Universal Music Group, all the people that are involved. And I'll show maybe a glimpse of that, but it's quite a lengthy video and so much to share that I can't do it in just a short bit. But I'm going to go over what I was planning on to, and that was this roadshow. It was rather confusing when you get into the Compassion Live. There's so many tours and so many places that they're going around with this Compassion Live. These are all of them. Every single one is a different pastor, a different bands are rotating. I mean, some are speaking at similar places. As you can see, Levi Lesko, you can watch my video on him. They are all intertwined with each other. Worship Together 2020. All the leaders, all the speakers, they come together. And I'd like you to see a small clip of this video where it says, "Together we will focus on our eyes, minds, hearts." Concerning. That is nothing but a concert. I think you would agree. I'm just concerned. I really am. Even looking into this gentleman named Martin Smith from Delirious. I went into his Facebook page and he was praising Little Miss Greta Thunberg. Oh my goodness. Boy, a couple people at least put him in his place. Thank goodness. But he's worshiping everywhere with Hillsong, Jesus Culture, at Hillsong churches, Bethel, many places. Just look at the logo. I think even Hillsong had 3 lines somewhere. Concerning when I see all the symbolism. Then there's the Matt Maher and Bethel Music. Just the black and white behind him right there tells me more than enough. But he's interlinked with the ecumenical, the coexist, with Mike Bickle, where they want to unite. Even Service Christi pointed it out. Let's see if I have that.
Sony. This would include Casting Crowns. There you go. Matt Maher, Matthew West. Who do we got down here? It's just so hard to keep up with these people. Bethel Music. Okay, here's they're having a big conference. Heaven Come conference, right? There's Bill Johnson's daughter, Jen Johnson, and Brian Johnson. Of course, you got Bill, Christine Kane. I believe she had her roots in the Hillsong movement. Rich Wilkerson Jr. You got Levi Lusko, who's a great friend of the Calvary Chapel movement, and Greg Laurie specifically. We'll get into that in a bit. These are the people, and also he's good friends with Stephen Furtick and Carl Lenz, right, from Elevation and from Hillsong. And then, of course, you've got the whole Bethel collective down here. Well, is it any shock that T.D. Jakes and Joel Osteen are friends of his? This is at the Hillsong Conference a few years back. Craig Groeschel from lifechurch.tv. That YouVersion Bible app you have in your phone, that's owned by this deceiving man right here. There's Kerry Job Leland from Bethel. Judah Smith, a good friend of Carl Lentz, who's one of the Hillsong pastors in New York. T.D. Jakes, when he has his conference, of course, he invites his old buddy Brian Houston over. Brian Houston and Joel Osteen, I think you can see that there. They've been close personal friends for quite some time. There's Joel Osteen with Carl Lentz out of Hillsong, New York. Who do we got here? Joyce Meyer celebrating 30 years of Hillsong Conference, right? There she is back at the 2012 conference, a longtime friend of the entire Hillsong movement. I hope you see the foundation we're setting here. But behind this entire movement, before the music ever comes out, before a lyric is written, this is the theology that is feeding into it. And it is impossible for that not to eventually leaven you. A little leaven leavens the whole lump unless we wish to make the Holy Spirit a liar. Those words were not said in vain. And Audrey Assad are Catholics, and I bet you've heard of both of them. I believe Audrey Assad is mixed up with the Bethel group. In any event, they both are here at the IHOP conference. It was called the One Thing Conference out of IHOP, the International House of Prayer, led by Mike Bickle, who is also a friend of the Bethel organization. He and Bill Johnson are friends since the 90s and were part of a group that were termed the Kansas City Prophets. Now, Matt Maher's a Catholic. That's Matt Maher. And Audrey Assad at the Catholic Ecumenical Track at the IHOP conference, where all sorts of strange nonsense occurs, like fire tunnels and, the same gold dust and feathers falling mentality. That's where they find themselves, except Mike Bickle and their whole crew are now embracing Catholicism, just like Nicky Gumbel. And this is a popular worship artist, one of the biggest contemporary Christian music artists of all time. I wonder how many people even know that Matt Maher is a Catholic.
So that was a little bit about Matt Maher. He is a Catholic. We have also so many other musicians. I'm only going to point this out because every young pastor and every musician happens to have tattoos. I have nothing against tattoos if you got them prior to becoming saved. But if you are a Christian, you should know that even in the Bible, it strongly says not to put ink on your body. So I'm wondering, is there any musician out there who doesn't have any tattooings anymore? But anyway, that's on another note. But just to point out, all these are connected. I have this in another video of mine. I'll add that link, and I'll add all these links below. There's just so much to go over that you don't have time. It would take hours, just like his video is a couple hours long. And I'll just point out that every church, it's all about the merchandise, selling the merchandise. And it's really unfortunate because I know that Jesus overturned many tables saying, this is the house of God. This is his house of worship and prayer. I think he would overturn a lot of these churches if he was here today. Well, there's so much more I wanted to put in here, but we've gone way over time. So I thank you, and sorry that this has come late. My daughter has been sick, and but it's great to be here, and great to know that God is always on our side, and great to see that there's other people out there just trying to seek the truth in all of this chaos that's all around us. I just say God bless, and stay vigilant, and only trust in the Lord our God and His Word. God bless. Till next time.